All right. Hello and welcome everybody to the REVN community stream for update 15.5. I'm Silas, the creative director here at Ambitious Games, and I'm joined by Alistair, our community manager.
Hello.
All right, so this week we're going to be talking about update 15.5. We're making good progress towards milestone 16, and this week we've got some new content coming out. We've got the REVN helmet, which is an sort of armored up version of the Crow helmet that came out last week. And we also have some VFX changes coming to Toxin Grenade. So this is something that we've gotten a lot of feedback about how difficult it is to tell, is this an ally toxin cloud? Is this an enemy toxin cloud? So now the sphere will get a orange or a blue tinting depending on if it is ally or enemy. So you can see here, this is the orange tinted version, and it will also be blue tinted if it is from an ally.
Cool.
Uh,
I also think that in general the whole VFX visual effect looks better.
yeah, there's been a bit of updates that have happened in the last couple of weeks. Ty worked on upgrading and redoing the particles themselves, so it just looks a little bit better than it did a while ago, which is always nice. Um, and then on the stat side of things, Alistair, you want to run us through this? What's happening to the meta?
Yeah. So Rogue Shotgun is getting its range decreased from 50 meters to 42 meters. And along with that, it's also getting its spread increased. So, um, it got increased by about zero point 0.5. So it shouldn't be extremely more erratic or anything, but combined with the shortened range, we're just trying to push Rogue Shotgun more and more to being a close range panic shotgun,
Yep.
which is what it was designed to be. Um, Otherwise, super minion base damage got lowered. This has been just continued tuning of super minions since they've been getting buffs and getting stronger. So it's going down from I think 100 to 95, or no,
110.
110 down to 95. Um, so not a huge change on that front, but they should feel a little bit more consistent now. Um, Maybe a little less threatening to an
Yeah,
individual
we
player.
we we felt like they were doing a little bit too much damage to players and a little bit too damage to structures. So by bringing its base damage down, we're able to adjust for both of those scenarios at once. And of course, that
Hmm.
base damage scales with every wave of minions that spawns. So the later in the match the super minions spawn, the stronger they are because they count at the same wave level as your other minion waves are counting at.
Hmm.
So if you know this is your 10th wave of minions, then all of your minions are getting a certain amount of extra HP and extra damage based on that level and based on a scaling percentage. So super minions will do a little bit more than 95 damage because of course you can't get them at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Uh,
Um,
this next change is a big one. People have been
but
asking about this a lot this week. This has been like the big hot topic of
yep.
discussion on Discord.
Yeah, Hunter and Angel Boss both got some pretty huge health upgrades. Um, this was, I think this is a good change. I mean, they're just gonna require more people DPSing to kill as fast as you were before. They were kind of light before. Like one player with like a good enough build could just kind of take them on, and I think that this is gonna really push them into that, especially with the super minions becoming so much stronger. In the last few patches, this is really gonna push those objectives to being big team fight locations, where hopefully players are gonna be grouping and trying to attain them so that they can
Yeah,
push down.
and we've been seeing a good amount of grouping the last 2 weeks of playtesting. Players are, recognizing the importance of these objectives. They're fighting over them. They're very, very valuable. And what we realized was that it was very easy to take the bosses quickly,
Hmm.
and a little bit too quickly for the enemy team to realize where you are on the map and then react to it
What's
either
happening?
by contesting the objective or pushing a side lane that's far away from the objective or whatever. There just wasn't enough time being committed by the team going for the boss. So
Yep.
tripling the health bar is going to slow down how fast you can take the boss, give the other team some time to either react by contesting or react by pushing a different lane. Um, and just slows down the game a little bit around bosses because recently it's a lot of times it's go take Hunter and then rotate over to the Angel boss by the time the other team realizes you took Hunter. Um, and then they're like trying to contest that, but you're already there, you've already set up, and you've already got it
Mm-hmm.
halfway down to claiming it already. Um, so I'm interested to see where this lands with soloing bosses. I believe Kyle did the math, and it was something like 13% lifesteal on a DPS build was a good enough sustain to solo the bosses, at least their first spawn. So I'm interested to see if increasing their health really affects that formula, because we're not increasing their damage. So I'm interested to see where that lands. And something else that we've
Mm-hmm.
gotten, some of the players in the Discord have talked about, should we increase the amount of time between bosses respawning after you kill them? We're not doing that in this patch because we're changing the health bars first. We want to see how that feels first. And because if we make the boss spawn or respawn slower, it ends up slowing down the entire game, which we're actually pretty happy with the overall length of matches right now being in that 20 to 30-minute mark. So we're not really looking to increase how long the match lasts, but we do want to make each fight over a boss take longer. And by extension of doing that, teams will probably end up taking fewer bosses in a given match because it's a bigger commitment.
Right. Either way, I think this is going to be a really healthy change for the game, and it will definitely open up some more strategy for players to interact with different bosses and interact with the map and the enemy team based off of what they're doing. So really excited for that. We're gonna have some play tests later this week where we'll be able to play and test that out. Um, Otherwise, there was a new gun added last patch. And it is getting its first balance change in this patch. So there's a
Yeah.
lot coming
Yeah, a
with
very, very
the
varied amount of changes to this weapon. Things going up, things going down. Um, the biggest complaint about this weapon was the rate of fire. It was super fast. So you could kind of like continuously burst it. Like you could hit it, and then as soon as the first burst ended, you could fire again. So it almost felt like an
mhm,
automatic weapon with this weird fire pattern. So we're slowing that down, creating a gap between bursts. Um, but we're increasing the overall damage per shot. And then the time to kill on the weapon is going up, so it's going to be not as effective at killing players. It was pretty dominant in this week's playtesting. But to compensate for that, we are giving it more headshot bonus damage, so it's a little bit more of a precision weapon. So we're really just trying to help it settle in and find its identity.
mhm. So regardless, the actual meat and bones of it is that the headshot bonus damage is going up by about 4, um, maybe 5. I think it might be 13 to 18.
Yep.
The damage increase is also pretty marginal. It's only about 5 damage. I know you reduced the rate of fire, but also reduced the burst delay by half a second.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a 1 second burst delay now.
Yes. And it's something else that we've gotten some feedback on that we're not addressing in this patch. It's going to take a little bit longer. Is just the general sound design of the weapon is not quite where we want it to be. When we were playtesting with it, and and getting everybody's feedback on it, the gunshot sound effects aren't quite as chunky as we'd like them to be. They're a little bit too laser like. So we're going to be working on the sound design for this weapon as well. Just wanted to put that out there. That is something that we're aware of, and it's not the final form of the weapon in the audio sense of it.
Hmm.
Okay, and let's talk about the one bug or the major bug that gets fixed this patch is dual wield. So dual wield, the ability came out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and it has had its fair share of bugs. Most of them have been animation canceling related bugs, dodge rolling, casting dash, doing anything that could sort of cancel the animation for equipping dual wield or cancel the animation for ending dual wield. All these different things would end up having unintended consequences. Your weapon would stop working, the ability would go into cooldown when it had never activated. So this week we're hitting it with a bunch of different bug fixes to smooth that experience out so that it is an actual reliable ability to use on the battlefield. Does this patch
Right.
also have the change to dual wield damage? I think. Am I forgetting
Yes,
that?
I believe
Yes.
it does. I think it does. I think it
Okay.
does.
Let's talk about
So dual
that.
wield damage. Yeah, dual wield damage is going to be adjusted in this patch. So that you're going to deal 80% basically, or 20% less damage than you would previously per shot on whatever weapon you are dual wielding. So it's still going to be an overall increase to DPS to use dual wield. Um, but the goal here is just to make sure that it's not getting insane time to kills very fast in the game.
Right. Especially given how early in the game you can buy this ability and that you don't really need to level up this ability to increase its DPS output. Once you've got it at tier 1, it's giving you as much DPS as it's ever going to give you. Leveling it up is simply just a cooldown reduction.
Right.
So I think that is the summary of what's coming out in this week's patch. We are looking forward to playtesting with everybody on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as always. And if you're not already subscribed on YouTube, we invite you to do that. And you can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/ambitiousdevs, where we live stream these community streams every Friday at 6 p.m. Otherwise, you guys have a great week.